Good afternoon, everybody. It's me, Ron. I want to talk about something that I've been looking up on YouTube, researching, preparing myself for a power outage. A lot of people want to say SHTF, and you all know what that stands for. A lot of it stands for being a prepper or being prepared. I really like a few videos that are out there right now. Most of them had to do with ham radio. Thank you, Not a Rubicon. I get a great deal of enjoyment out of his videos. He's mostly GMRS. He talks a little bit about ham. He talks a little bit about CB. He talks batteries. He talks radios. He talks antennas. He talks FCC rules. He's a good dude. You ought to watch one of his videos. He's also very funny at times. But why I wanted to run one myself has to do with batteries. I am extremely sick and tired of watching some of these young dudes get on there and say, you take your voltage, you multiply it times your amps, and it gives you your watt hours, but if you got milliamps, you got to multiply it times 1,000 to get what your battery's worth. And stop. My thought process on batteries is you can get yourself a working knowledge of it and figure out about what type of battery you're going to need, what type of solar system, what type of inverter system, what type of car jumper pack system you're going to need. But it all boils down to one word: batteries. They say, you know how long your battery is going to last or how long it's going to stay across the board, and then all of a sudden drop off in the way of a lithium iron phosphate battery. And I have a few of them. A lot of them are coming out in the ham and GMRS radios. I won't get into them, but they are still batteries. So why I'm here today is to straighten something out. Maybe just in my mind, but there's a lot of people out there that are swearing by some of these videos saying, I need to get a 1200 amp hour battery. I need to get a 400 watt solar charger. And there goes my scanner. Sorry about that. And I'm here to tell you, I don't care what type of system you try to buy, you're either going to spend a couple bucks or you're going to spend thousands. Yeah, they're putting them on the house. Yeah, they can guarantee you this many hours of running on a battery when the sun's not out. But it still boils down to batteries. Now, I'm going to grab a couple of batteries here and show you what I'm talking about. Stand by. Okay, I got the batteries I want to show you. And keep in mind, the first four are going to be the same voltage. They're different sizes. Let's start with the AAA. And let's just talk about a clock. Now, I'm not selling a brand name. I'm not selling a brand type. I'm selling voltage. We're talking, this is a 1.5 volt battery. So is this. There's a difference in the size. Now, so is this. And the last one, so is this. They're all 1.5 volts. But of course you can see by the size which one's going to last longer. But can you put this in a wristwatch? Can you put this one in a wristwatch? Or either one of these? No, you got to go to a button cell. And those are 1.5 volt batteries. There are 3 volt batteries out there. There's a lot of watches that use that. Next size up the line. And you saw the D size battery. You used to use them for all the flashlights. Now, let's talk about this little guy. The 9 volt battery. Which one's going to last longer? You cannot tell. You have to use a meter to find out what the voltage is left in them. Again, it's up to the battery. This will run a flashlight for hours. This will run a flashlight for hours, but it depends how big the flashlight is. So you have to work by the voltage that's in here. Not what the light can pull, but what's in here. Measure this to know how many hours you got left. If you're using a 9-volt battery, you put it in a flashlight, you run that flashlight for 6 hours straight, and you still have 9 volts in there, you're going to be able to go for a while. But if it's already dropped down to 6.5, 7 volts, you know you don't have a lot of time left. Voltage. Voltage. I don't care what you multiply by what, you're not going to be able to tell how long this battery is going to last in that flashlight. You cannot tell. Was this battery on the shelf before you bought it for 2 years? Was this battery on the shelf for 30 minutes before you bought it? Each one is going to have a different strength. You buy 2 batteries in the same box, they're going to have a different strength. You have to judge by what you have in your equipment, by what you need. Let's get a little bit bigger. Three identical camcorder batteries. The one I have on the camcorder that's being used right now, I'm keeping an eye on the gauge up in the top right hand corner of how long I have to go. This one here is 1030 milliamp, MAH, milliamp hours. This one here is 1030 milliamp hours. But this one, same size, is 1800 milliamp hours. That's 730 more, same size battery. So you have to watch the gauge to tell when this one's going to die or this one's not going to die. You have to watch the gauge. You have to watch your multimeter, your voltmeter. Let's show you 2 more batteries that I've been using right now. I've got to take the camcorder and walk around here a little bit, so stand by. Okay, here's what I call an inverter. You'll see right here, there's 120 volts. Right next to it, that's 12 volts. The blue thing, that's a solar charger. I send juice in through these wires on this side to this 12 volt lithium ion phosphate battery. 120 watt hours. That means nothing to me, not a thing. I have to keep an eye on the voltage, which I made my own voltmeter. There it is. You see how many volts are in there? 13.2. Now that might last on a light bulb for 7 hours, which I've already tested. It's a 12 volt light bulb, but it still lasted 7 hours. Put it on a fan, you don't even get 5 hours out of it. So that's that battery. There's your solar charger, and it also reads voltage on it when it's hooked up. Then the light I use is right there. It's a 12 volt light. I have it hooked up straight to a solar panel, so there's no batteries involved. We're going to go over here now to my big one. Now this is the one I use during field day, ham field day, where you're not allowed to use commercial power. You have to use either a solar or a battery or a generator. So there is my solar setup, and outside the door along the fence is the solar panel. There it is leaning on the fence. 100 watt. Comes into a controller, which is what you see flashing there, the green light, and it's showing that there's 14 volts coming in to the battery. So this battery is also showing 14 volts, 118 volts AC. So I can run my fan on this battery through the inverter. But what do I have to watch? You'll see when I started, that said 14. I turned on the fan and look what it did. It dropped down already. Dropped down to 13.5. Oh man, sorry. Which matches here. Now when that sun comes out strong, this will go back up again. The solar charger will try to keep that 12 volt battery fully charged while it's sending out juice to my fan. But this thing drops down below 11 volts, my fan's going to shut off, my inverter's going to shut off like that, and the fan's going to shut off. So watching voltage is the game that needs to be played. On using batteries. You want it to last longer? You get a bigger battery. You don't need it to last that long. You don't have power outages. You're not running a house. You're only going to run a few lights, maybe a TV, the internet, or your computer, recharge your phone. You don't need as much. If you're going to run your refrigerator and you're going to run a heater in the house, you better get a mighty big battery. And at that point, that's when you get a generator. That's when you go real big. There's a couple of houses up in the New England states that do run total solar and battery charge for their house because they're off the grid. Off the grid means they have no power to the island, and that's where the house is. So he had to lug in 12 batteries. That's what he needed to run his house for the weekend, and that's with the solar charger hooked up. Again, those batteries lose voltage because it rains all weekend. By the end of that weekend, he's not going to have anything. I respect these guys. I respect the science of a battery. I respect what type of battery they are. I've just showed you 3 different ones. A wet cell, a seal lead acid, and a dry cell. They all have different uses. One's going to outlast the other. The bigger they are, doesn't necessarily mean the longer they're going to run. Case in point, these two right here, the D cell and the 9 volt. They run different things. You have to use the voltage for what it's meant for. You can set up a solar charger in your house like I have. I've been experimenting. I have friends that are doing the same thing. I run the one big battery. He runs 2 smaller batteries. Mine is 75 amp hour battery. He uses 2 35s, 35 amp hours. They're both 12 volt. They do just about the same thing mine does. I can run my ham radio on it all night. When the sun comes out, it's going to recharge my battery. And I have proved that at the Ham Fest. We used that setup. It worked like a champ on a ham radio to an antenna all over the United States. I'm not standing here saying these guys are dummies. By no means. These guys are intelligent. I just believe they're too intelligent for the people that want to run their systems. So maybe I shouldn't put this on there. Maybe I'm going to get a lot of kickback by it. But it is the battery, the bottom line battery, that matters when you set something up or you go to use it. The bigger, the better the battery, the longer it's going to last. But you're not going to be able to sit there and say, this battery will last for 9 hours. 9 hours and 3 minutes before it drops. You can't do that. Each battery is like a person. Each has their own meaning, their own power. That's all I wanted to say. It gets frustrating. It's something that people should know before they sit down and say, I need a 1200 amp hour battery. No, you need to figure out what you need it for, how big it is, how long you want it to last. We're up here in southeastern Pennsylvania. We don't lose power a lot. We do not lose power a lot. The one time we did lose it for 3 days, I had a heater, buddy heater, had my TV running, had my internet running, until they put the power back on for me. But I knew what I needed before I went into it. I've already tested them. I didn't do it on paper. I did it in reality. Something for you to think about. Thank you very much. Now let the people give me their ideas of what I said. Thank you. I'm clear.